Well, that was fast. Drake Maye. I told you last episode, hey, it's coming. The window's open. It could be 2 weeks from now. It could be 3 weeks from now. It could be 4, but it's coming soon. Callahan newsflash. It's coming Sunday. Drake Maye is here. And look, if you have been listening the last few weeks, you know I have been on the sit the kid, keep him away from the worst pass blocking offensive line, not only in the league, not only that I've ever seen, but historically, according to ESPN, would finish as the worst pass protecting offensive line since at least 2006. I'm still excited to see Drake Maye. Look, I made my thoughts clear. The Patriots are going in a different direction. When the news broke Tuesday, as I was literally in the middle of a jog, running around, something I think Drake is probably going to do a whole lot of against the Texans, I sent out a lot of texts, made some calls, these are the folks in the locker room, in the organization, a couple outside the league being like, hey, what do you make of this? And just wrap my arms around something that, I thought was going to come in a couple of weeks. It was always inevitable. They were going to play Drake this season. But why now? What's happening? And I wrote a column stating again that opinion. I think they're rushing him into this. And this is not, an issue where everyone's on one side or the other. Dan Orlovsky, Mina Kimes, even Tom Brady, last time we heard from him, is saying the same thing I am. Just wait, be patient. It's not going to happen. So why is it happening now? Well, in speaking with people who were, let's say, very close to what's going on here, the deal is this. Last time you saw Drake Maye, they said to me, he was pushing Jacoby for the starting job. He was better the last 2 weeks of camp and in the preseason than Jacoby was. Since then, Drake has only gotten better. And yes, it's only practice. But understanding they were going to play him anyway, they looked at this game and said, well, we might as well do it now. Because the last 3 weeks, Jacoby has been actively hurting them on offense. And the fact that those two happened together coincided with the schedule, in my opinion, based on things that I've heard, observed, and kind of pieced together, did expedite the plan a little bit. But the plan was not like week 7. It wasn't week 4. It was he's going to play sooner rather than later. When that is will be determined by how Jacoby plays and how Drake practices. Jacoby played bad. Drake practiced great. Here we are. They made the switch. And when I pushed back and said, okay, could you have just not picked a team with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson on the edges, again, working against your offensive line, the worst in the league? They said, honestly, we don't really care that much about the opponent. It's more about him and playing. And the fact that we're at home, in their eyes, I know this for a fact, really helped too. Which, again, to me, if I'm running the team, I care less about the geographic location than the team actually on the other side, who's going to give us a lot of problems. And DeMeco Ryans is a really good defensive head coach. They see it differently. The die is cast. They've come up with Drake Maye. So there's more intel in that column if you haven't read it from Tuesday. But there's background in there, as we just talked about now, of why they're doing this now, how Drake has gotten better specifically with the footwork, playbook mastery, and he's been better against pressure. Alex Van Pella actually today, I know everyone's favorite offensive coordinator right now, who I've been plenty critical of, said that Drake started a good on good, meaning starting offense, starting defense period, where it was all about the blitz, which also tells you they think Houston's going to bring a lot of pressure. Drake Maye was 6 for 6, quote, in his decisions in that period, meaning he did the right thing every single time. So yes, that is more coming from the coaches. And I would trust a lot more of what I've heard privately over the phone and via text than what coaches are going to say publicly. They're never going to bash their own guys, but there's a lot of overlap there. So that's what I know. That's what I've learned. That's what we're going to go with moving forward. And the Patriots are going to go with Drake Maye. And hopefully he survives the last 12 games because this is a lot of the season left to go. But that's where they're at. They think he can do it. They believe that much in him. And that's why I started that column going, hey, if you remember, 5 hours, and this is from Hard Knocks, revealed this, 5 hours before Elliott Wolf drafted Drake Maye, he turned down an offer with multiple first-round picks and other selections from the Giants. Then the Vikings also made an offer like that. Remember, the Giants were just a pick 6. So you're going back 3 spots for a first-round pick and more from a team you know is going to stink next year. They said no. The Patriots were smitten with Drake Maye. They are smitten with Drake Maye. And everyone has fallen out of love with the Jacoby Brissett experience. You want to know why Drake Maye is starting on Sunday? That's it right there. It's not about the opponent. It's got a little bit to do with the fact that they're at home, but the fact that they're just ready and they've been wanting to do this. And Jacoby Brissett's play as of late gave them a reason why.
What was your reaction when you saw it, and what do you think?
Very excited. It was the right decision. Well, it should have been last week now. I think that would have made much more sense going against the Dolphins. I'm sure we'll talk about the Texans, tough defense to get thrown into the fire, but it was the right decision. Jacoby Brissett was not getting the job done And I know he was in a tough spot with the offensive line and under pressure a lot, but it just 139 or 129 passing yards per game, whatever it was, it just wasn't sustainable, as Gerard Mayo said. And you turn it over to Drake Maye, there's going to be bumps, there's going to be bruises. He's a rookie. He's going to go through these stuff, but he can help the offense in ways that Jacoby was not getting it done. Anticipatory throws, pushing the ball downfield, making plays with his legs, and hopefully it'll get the receivers more involved. Those guys were rightfully getting a little frustrated out there. So I think it's the right decision to turn to him now. And I say all that too by thinking he's ready. I think he's ready. I think he's been ready. I don't think they're rushing him along here, which is important. Like, he's been one snap away the last 5 weeks for being on the field anyway. So I think they're pretty comfortable with him going out there in the first place. So with the talent, he should elevate the offense. And I think he's ready from a mental side. So I think this is exciting. We should be excited. I see a lot of complaining still all over the place, a lot of negativity. We should be excited now here. And I'm ready to go with the Drake Maye era.
Taylor.
I'm excited. Also, I'm not quite as 100% sure that Drake Maye is necessarily ready, but it does at least give me some faith that I know Albert Beer reported that he has been making steady progression, that he's gotten better against the blitz. And we kept hearing this summer where we asked TC McCartney and Alex Van Pelt, what exactly is it that's keeping him from being a starter and being the better option? Why is it better for him to learn behind the scenes? Van Pelt kept mentioning, the different pressure schemes that you're going to see in the NFL. And now they've seen the Shanahan defensive tree where you got like Robert Saleh. Now they've already seen the McDonald coaching tree as well. So you've got some tape, at least from these trees, of what kind of pressure schemes you might see. Obviously, Scott Peters told us last week, it's different based on your opponent because they have different players and you want to scheme to that. But I do hope that, mentally he's in a place where he can go out there, he can command the huddle with confidence, relatively for a rookie in his first start, and be able to still make the throws and make some plays because, I've been on the bandwagon of wait at least till November to start May, once you get a couple weeks of the same offensive line. But at the same time, I think we may get the same offensive line 2 weeks in a row because the unit, they weren't perfect, but they weren't bad enough that you got to make wholesale changes or bench anybody, I don't think. So you got that. Kendrick Bourne is back. And then Jalen Polk and Kayshon Boutte, two guys who have spent a lot of time with Drake Maye. If you look in the preseason, his main receivers were Jalen Polk, Kayshon Boutte, and Javon Baker. Obviously, Javon Baker hasn't proven himself yet enough to get on the field. But I do think this may have been the best situation for them to introduce him. Maybe not against the Texans. If they don't run the ball 30 times, I'm going to be legitimately pissed off. But I really do think this probably was the best time considering how Jacoby Brissett's been performing the past couple weeks. I put on the closest thing I got to California blue. I was literally getting a haircut when the news broke. But yeah, man, I'm psyched. I don't look like a jackass anymore, so let's go. Hey,
I was 1 foot out the door about to go grocery shopping, and then I saw it, and I had to run back inside. Mike, your thoughts?
So first and foremost, congratulations, Brian Hines, on your quarterback. It's something that you've wanted for a long time here since week one. I am obviously excited to make the change. I think they needed it from a PR standpoint, and frankly, from a football standpoint, it hasn't been good enough at quarterback. Now, 2 hours before this report came out from Rappaport, I tweeted out that, I was actually more of the mindset where maybe they keep waiting and maybe they let these five offensive linemen continue to gel together. And after last week, it looked pretty good. So give them some more time to, continue seeing things through one set of eyes and make it happen that way. They go to it a little bit earlier. And the other reason I wanted to allow them to give May a little bit more time is the fact that this Texans defense gets after quarterbacks. They have the highest pressure rate in the NFL right now. The Patriots obviously allowing the highest pressure rate in the NFL. So not a great recipe up front for May, but it's fun. It's exciting. See what happens. Run around, make some plays. It's time for the kid, and I think that's an exciting. I keep using that word, but that's kind of where we're at, and so be it, right? It was never going to be perfect. They tried to make it perfect. They tried to have this cute landing spot, and he's going to develop. But guys get hurt, things happen, and that's where we're at. And ultimately, I'm okay with it because they needed something to give.
I guess I'll give my reaction because we kind of jumped in here. I said on Patriots Beat yesterday, Brian, that even if he's not starting this week, you've got to get the ramp up started this week. And it sounds like from Rapport, maybe they actually started that process last week. So I think you just hit a tipping point. And I think this shouldn't come out of nowhere. You had the change in Drake Maye's tone yesterday. And then on top of that, you just had, they have an offensive line that's going to be able to play together for the second week in a row. You started seeing a group of wide receivers maybe start to emerge as the main guys. Ramondre Stevenson didn't fumble, kind of figuring his stuff out. So my reaction is I get some people are freaked out about the way the line's been. And look, Jacoby Brissett, to this point, most pressured quarterback in football, literally 50% of his dropbacks. Every other dropback, dude's under pressure. And I know some people say, well, Drake Maye, the line's going to be better with Drake Maye. It'll help. I still don't entirely get that argument. But let's say he even takes 10% off, which would be monumental. He's still one of the 5 most pressured quarterbacks in football. I get that, but I don't. And I was somebody who was preaching patience and saying, don't start him right away. And I said, it needs to be better. It's not necessarily ever going to be good, but it needs to be better. I think what you saw last week, a group that is definitely better than what they started with. You have some continuity now in terms of the personnel. Getting guys healthy is a part of that too. The Texans is the landing spot. I maybe would have waited another week. I think the fact that it's going to London and they maybe have a shorter week of practice impacts that. And, now you're waiting 2 more weeks. And again, you risk losing guys in the locker room as you continue to lose more games. But yeah, the writing was kind of on the wall that this made sense. And just to backtrack, there was somebody saying back when they drafted him in April, yeah, at some point in October, we'll see him. Maybe the first week, maybe the last week, maybe somewhere in between, probably some point in October. Happy October 8th, everybody.
As to the decision itself, and we'll get into a little bit, Drake Maye, is he ready? Is this a great opponent for him to be going against? We'll talk about that in a little bit, but, let me just say, and I wrote this and sort of talked about it on Felger and Maz the other day. When the news came down, I was on air when the news came down. This doesn't sit very well with me. I was all on board for the plan. First of all, let's go back to the beginning. I was on board with them drafting Drake Maye 3rd overall, all the way through. I have never had any doubts that he has the type of traits from his arm strength, athletic ability, build. Would you like his hands to be a little bit better for a Northeast team? Yes, but we'll have to see how that goes. He'll certainly get that opportunity for the rest of the season. I think he's very raw. I think he's very inexperienced compared to other guys in his draft class who have been, playing and on the whole doing a good job to, typical sort of rookie season, other than Jaden Daniels start slow and start to make progress. And, you're hoping for the same thing with Drake Maye. I mean, I would have been fine. I would have been better. I would have felt better had they been able to push this off to, say, mid-season, second half of the season, when it was clear the Patriots were out of contention. And you could make the argument that at 1-4, they're out of contention right now. And that's fine. But I wanted the Patriots to have a plan and stick to the plan. And it seemed like every week we were hearing all right, they're sticking to their plan, which I was very happy about. I did not want the Patriots to do what the Jacksonville Jaguars did when they drafted Blake Bortles, and Blake Bortles never would have been a great NFL quarterback. He certainly had all the physical skills. I don't know if he had it mentally. I think Drake Maye definitely has the intangibles, the smarts, the traits, his upbringing, his competitiveness. I think all that stuff is off the charts with Drake Maye, and that's why I was all on board with him being the 3rd overall pick. Now, I did have my draft order: Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake Maye. If it was Jaden Daniels and Drake Maye, I would have taken Jaden Daniels. Caleb Williams, the only question, which I don't know the answer to, and the Bears don't even know the answer to, is his makeup, what you need to be that guy, to be one of the elite quarterbacks, certainly there's a lot of questions about that. Jaden Daniels, I had fewer questions with Jaden. It was more physical and whether he could take a beating given his size, and a 6-game sample size is not going to tell you, it's going to be years. I mean, RG3 was rookie of the year and over Andrew Luck. And what ultimately did him in was injuries, along with, some personality things with him. But so all on board on Drake Maye. My evaluation coming out of college was similar to a lot of guys, whether it's Greg Cosell or Dan Orlovsky or whoever. Love the traits, love the flashes on film. Definitely green, inexperienced, undertrained. I would have loved to have spent upwards of a season laying that foundation, retraining him. So, in a similar fashion to Patrick Mahomes. That's ideally what I wanted for Drake Maye, but everybody's different. I mean, Drake might learn faster than anybody. He might be picking up, whether it's his footwork. I definitely would like to see him over time. And it's not something that's going to happen in one off season. Tighten up his motion, which I do think is too long, but that's something that can be worked on. I just thought that, especially considering this offense and that Alex Van Pelt has said, like, you need to operate from under center in this offense. Drake has a long ways to go in terms of that. I don't expect him to be under center very much, if at all. I just don't think he's very comfortable with that. I think every opportunity that we've seen him under center, it's been an adventure. And it's not just the centers, it's him as well. So, but that being said, and this is part of where the Patriots are, I think the plans that they had for this season, for this offense, that Alex Van Pelt had for this offense, have been thrown out the window.
Support us and sign up at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS or download the app today and use code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5.